Hey, I'm Claire.
And I'm Janice.
And this is The X-Files, a podcast about breakups, broken hearts, and moving on.
We are breakup coaches here to help you beat your breakup,
Heal your broken heart,
and move on to an amazing, abundant life.
Welcome to the next episode of X-Files. Today, we are talking about one of the most frequent questions we've been getting in the DMs from podcast listeners, but also from our own clients over the past year or so. So the question is, and I guarantee you've thought this at some point, why is it taking me so long to get over them?
Right. What does it mean? And what's wrong with me? And
What's
what
wrong
can I
with
do?
me?
Yeah, I know that a lot of people struggle with this. And, it's kind of sad because there's no right or wrong way necessarily to do a breakup. And people really don't get support around it once, a couple weeks has passed. So I'm really glad that we decided to dig into this.
Yeah, we have a lot to say, and we really we look at this from a lot of angles. So I think the best thing to do is just dive right into it.
Let's go
and
for
we'll
it.
start by defining what getting over it even is, because I don't personally define getting over someone as getting to the point of I don't give a fuck about them.
Yeah.
I believe that if you love someone truly, at one point, you will always have love for them, for the person that they were when you fell in love with them. So I define getting over them in terms of acceptance and non-attachment rather than just like, who that new number, who dis, So acceptance and non-attachment. First of all, accepting that the breakup was best for everyone. And two, non-attachment, as in no longer looking at this person like they owe you something, or feeling like you owe them, or feeling like you have some sort of ownership over them in some way. They're not yours anymore, and you're okay with it.
That is such a good point. I really like the point about the fact that they don't owe you anything anymore, because a lot of people get upset at their exes for being inconsiderate towards them after the breakup. It's like, but you're broken up. So there's probably still attachment there.
And that super hard thing of seeing your ex move on with someone else before you feel ready to move on, that can be really hurtful. And I think we're coming up on an episode we're going to do about that.
Yes, we are. Yeah, I'm excited for that episode. That's going to be a juicy one. So is this, though. So my definition of getting over someone is, I guess, getting to the point where you don't have this aching feeling in your heart, like in your chest, when you think about them, when you hear about them, when you look at your photos. And most people who have been through a breakup will know this pain that I'm talking about, because it's physical. And so I think that once the heartache is removed from the thoughts, that you'll know that you're starting to move on, starting to get over them. And just like you said, that you will be thinking, like, I'm glad this ended, or it needed to end, rather than I want to get back with them. I miss them. This hurts so bad.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's along those lines, if you're thinking that you want to get back with them all the time, then I think that you probably haven't moved on or gotten over them. And so if this is the thought that's going through your mind all the time and you're wanting to move forward, I'd start with this. And we've talked about it a lot. We've got multiple episodes related to this topic of wanting to get back together. And start there, start looking towards the future. And once that doesn't dominate your thoughts, you've probably started to move on.
Yeah, definitely. You started to get over them. So, big question. Why does it take time?
If the relationship ended, why does it still hurt?
Yeah.
What is wrong with me?
Exactly.
All right. I'm really excited about this topic because I am a big fan, as you are, Claire, of Guy Winch. And I started getting into his work a few years back when I was studying to be a breakup coach. And I just wanted to read everything there was about the science of breakups. And so first of all, one of his points and one of mine now as well is that it takes time simply because we've lost a really big part of our lives with most breakups, and also what we thought was going to be a big part of our future. And so we have every right to feel sorrow, and also we have every right to have our breakup recognized by others. But the problem is that our society, in large part, doesn't really give space for this particular life transition. So, for instance, if you went through even a divorce or other breakup, some people might, but a lot of people wouldn't feel comfortable asking for time off for this reason, right? You might make up another excuse if you really were having a hard time going to work, because really the only, I guess, personal issue that is just generally accepted as okay to take time off work for is the actual death of a loved one. But actually, heartbreak is completely paralyzing and physically debilitating to some people. And you need to address it. You need to take time off work.
Yeah.
But as we sometimes say, thank you, society, because
Thanks,
there's just
society.
not space for that. And so you start to judge yourself. So this is the point of the episode where I ask you to get out your pen and paper, because there's two resources that I want to recommend, and they're both by Guy Winch. So I highly suggest that you listen first to his TED Talk if you want validation for having a broken heart. It's very easily found on YouTube, and I don't recommend TED Talks all of the time, but his is really good, and you will feel much better about being brokenhearted after you listen to it.
Yeah.
And then if you want to take it to the next level, his book, How to Fix a Broken Heart, is brilliant. And it's short too, like 100 pages or something.
Yeah, it's pretty short. I just would say, if you're an animal lover, come prepared, because he has two parallel things, breakups and then the loss of an animal, and because both are not recognized by society at large as being so devastating as they are. So yeah, just come prepared.
A trigger.
Yeah, a little trigger warning if you recently lost a pet, but it would actually probably help.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's so good. So good.
He's really big into two things in both the talk, but more in the book, is first of all of the science behind a broken heart and all of the devastating neurological and physical impacts that it has. And so it's perfectly okay that you're feeling like you're down because your body is reacting. You know, he talks about how your productivity and even your IQ can go down for the time after a breakup.
Yeah.
And he also talks about how there's no space in society for grieving a relationship, and that it's the overall lack of compassion that makes us feel something is wrong with us when we're taking, quote, so long to recover.
Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes from his book is, and I relate to this so much. All right, I'm getting excited. All right, unfortunately, our friends and loved ones are not the only people who can lose patience and compassion with when our recovery stalls. One of the damaging ripple effects of losing social support is that we often internalize the impatience of those around us and lose self-compassion as well. We are then left with the double whammy of a massive reduction in social support and a massive increase in self-compassion.
Oh,
there you go.
So good.
I love it. And I relate so much.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this can be especially hard if you revolved your entire life around your partner, as I think some of us are often doing.
Prone to do.
Yeah, myself included, is like, if this person was the majority of your social support, that can be huge. You're losing not just a partner, but your friend and your confident, all of these things. So,
and then the people around you just can't, stick with you. And I went through this with one of my breakups. People got just like downright frustrated with me. I'm going to talk about this later in the episode. But yeah, then I started totally internalizing that there was something wrong with me, that I was weak, that I was annoying, because people were losing their patience with me. And so I thought, wow, like people don't want me around. I must be like an obnoxious human. And like, that's not really what you need when you're struggling with these other things. So yeah, hello coaching. This is, I mean, it's one of the reasons why I do what I do is because of that.
Yeah. Just the power in being like, no, you are perfectly normal. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah, what you're doing the best you can.
Yeah. That even just hearing that every week can be so helpful. But yeah, so I want to bring up a topic that I think comes up with why is it taking me so long to get over someone? Because society expects that you should be single until you're completely healed. And so it's kind of like, I have to be like 100% don't give a fuck about this person anymore
strutting
before
down
I
the
move
street.
on. Yeah. And if you do date, it's labeled a rebound and it has all these like negative connotations. And we hear this rebound story as kind of like a cautionary tale, but dating again isn't necessarily bad. It's almost, for society and how it's defined, it's almost like the person you rebound with is like wasted on you.
Is your rebound. Right.
And it's like, we gotta do an poor sucker. He was a rebound and, it doesn't count. But part of evolving and growing and healing is having new experiences. So I think that dating when you're not 100% over your ex is not bad. I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it'll help with your recovery to experience new things, have a good time, and be reminded that you're sexy and desirable, provided as you're not leading someone on in regards of being ready for commitment. Dating casually can be a really positive thing when you've reached a certain point in your recovery. You don't have to be 100%. You should be far enough along that you're not constantly comparing this person and you're able to be in the moment. But you don't have to wait until you're like,
you don't have to. You might want to.
Single. Yeah.
And you might want to, but you definitely don't have to.
Yeah, you definitely don't have to, but it's just like looking at society's expectations of how everything's supposed to work. And this is actually an idea that Guy Winch brought up on a podcast that I listened to on Girls Gotta Eat.
This is so crazy. I did not know that he went on Girls Gotta Eat.
I know. I kept it a secret for the episode.
Was it awesome? This is so crazy to me.
Yeah, it was a really good episode.
That is wild.
And he talks about how there's only so far you can get in your healing just sitting in a room thinking about your prior experience. You actually have to go out and do new things to start integrating the things you've learned from your last relationship. So I thought that was just so good.
He's brilliant.
And also should we
put a little call out to him now or later if he wants to come on X-Files?
Hey. Hi Guy, do you want to come on the podcast?
If anyone knows him, if you could let him know.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. So our people will reach out, aka Janice.
Hi.
So there's only so much we can learn about life and ourselves by sequestering ourselves in a room and just thinking. So we have to take the lessons we're learning and apply them out in the world. So, and evolving as a person is so important to getting over your ex. So I just wanted to address that little thing that can kind of get tied into, why am I not over him already? I want to get on with my life,
Yeah, I've seen dating and help others move on. It's helped me move on. Sometimes it can hurt as well. But I just say try it.
Yeah, try it, because you can always go back to like going home again and not dating for a while because you were like, I tried it, wasn't ready. Cool. You tested the
Yep,
water, you decided it wasn't
absolutely.
for you yet. Great. But you might have a good time and just see the light at the end of the tunnel and be like, hey, I can like go out to a restaurant, have a good time. Like, sure, I don't think I'm going to be with this person for the rest of my life, but I had a good evening. And that's a win in
Yeah,
itself when
there's really
you're recovering.
yep, I agree. And there's, I guess, really something to be said for saying that you've tested the waters, for saying that
Yeah.
you've started dating again. If
Yeah.
yeah, especially if this is a desire of yours to have in your life. So yes,
Mhm.
thank you for bringing that up. And I really want to talk more about rebounding in a
Ooh,
future
so
episode. So
good.
please send us your
Oh, yeah,
questions about this.
I'm
I've had
I
some
have a lot to
really
say.
interesting experiences. Yeah,
Yeah.
same. All right, so let's talk about length of time. So, as far as length of time goes, I think that it's not so much about if you're still sad as far as how you are coping. So, if it's been several weeks and you still struggle to function, for instance, that may be of more concern than simply hurting or missing them. So I think this is an important point to make during this episode, that there's a difference between being sad and experiencing like clinical levels of depression. And that's different from just not being over them. And if elevated depression is getting in the way of your life, then I do believe that professional help is always recommended. And this can happen to people who are struggling with a broken heart. So, on the other hand, if it's an aching in your heart or an intense desire to get back together with them that comes up when you allow yourself to think about them, I don't know that there's a time frame necessarily. But what I do know is that if you continue to look after yourself and prioritize your healing, that it will begin to subside. So that's what I would ask a client is, what are you doing to try and push your healing forward? What are you doing for yourself to move on? What are you doing when the thoughts are coming up? I'd be much more concerned about that as a coach rather than the time.
Definitely never hesitate to get the help you need. That said, situational depression is definitely real. So know that there's nothing wrong with you if the breakup precedes depression for a time.
Mhm.
And if you're struggling and need help, you can call the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration's referral hotline at 1-800-662-HELP. And there's also online services like BetterHelp and Sonder Mind, which usually uses your insurance. And just know this will pass. So just keep going.
Yes, thank you
It
for
will always
mentioning
get
that.
better. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And if you feel like you need to ask for help, then you probably do and
yeah.
do it.
Yeah. It's better to ask for help before you feel like there's no hope,
Yeah, I agree.
So ask before you get that bad.
Yep.
So getting back to the question of how long it's quote supposed to take, there's no rule.
Yep.
There is no rule. Corey Dixon File, founder and psychotherapist at Thriving Path, agrees that you shouldn't put pressure on yourself to feel better by a certain time because it can cause shame.
Yes.
She says, in order to move forward, you have to give yourself permission to grieve. And that's not linear and it doesn't take a certain amount of time to grieve. So instead, she encourages her patients to feel empowered by having no timeline, being like, this is all about you, you perfect, unique, beautiful human. You'll take how much time you need.
Yep. And again, we would never say these things to a person who was grieving, the loss of someone.
Yeah.
If they had a death in their family and it was taking them months to get better, we would never say the same thing. And yeah,
Mhm.
like we've said, studies show that it can have the same impact on you to lose a love.
Yeah, it's so true. And so just to touch on our personal experience with this,
Let's do it.
in my experience, the length of the relationship does not determine how long it'll take to get over an ex. I've had my shortest relationship be the most painful and the longest time to get over a person. I've also had a relationship where it wasn't necessarily getting over them, but it was getting over the experience of leaving them
Oh.
because it was totally fucked up.
Yeah, I
And
mean, that's a good point. The
yeah,
drama surrounding a
yeah.
breakup can, yeah, have an impact on
Yeah,
your
the
healing for
drama
sure.
had a more lasting impact than
Mm-hmm.
the person in that case.
Oh God.
And I've also had a shortish relationship where I was in a weird place and at my lowest confidence and self-respect. And when I dated them, it was just to not be alone. And so I was actually relieved when it ended.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and it was one of those things where I'd been trying to end it for a while. But like I said, weird headspace, low confidence, low self-respect. Um, yeah, so do what we say and not as we've done in the past, because 1 out of 10 do not recommend. Um,
I like that.
yeah. I also think that, if you're the person who is doing the breaking up, you may have had a head start on processing the ending. But that doesn't mean that you'll have necessarily a shorter time getting over it. It's just that your healing process had a head start. So for some people, they may be totally over it by the time they end things. But for some reason, some people, breaking up with someone is so hard, even when they're choosing to do it, and know that it has to happen. So
Yeah.
that's kind of a different topic. But, when I broke up with my ex-fiance of 5 years, that recovery was definitely not linear. So it was hard to put a number on like, oh, it took me a year. It was like, well, for half of the year, I felt great, alternating with half the year not feeling good. So
I love this.
it's hard to say exactly how much time it took because it's not linear. And every recovery is different.
Yeah, and my personal experience really relates to a lot of what you just said. First of all, when I left a marriage, I was the one who, I guess, initiated it, and so when it ended, it was hard AF. I mean, definitely, it was not real, what I wanted to happen, but I had ups and downs, but overall I did have, the relief feeling because there
Yeah.
was, a big build up to it and me realizing if we kept on like this, I was gonna have to leave. And so yeah, I was a bit more prepared for it. However, back to the linear point, and that breakups are not linear. I made one of the biggest mistakes in my life about a year later.
Learning
When
experience.
Yes, yeah. I want people to know though that it was a
Yeah.
mistake. It actually took me a long time to even talk about this, and so the fact that I'm
Yeah.
doing it publicly is
Yeah.
a big deal because I felt shame about it. But
Yeah.
we reconnected, not for a long time, maybe a month or so, but I allowed myself to kind of go into this space of, now that we've had time apart, maybe it would be better, and started fantasizing and whatnot. But it did not work out. I
Aw.
laugh because it was a horrible experience in the end.
Yeah.
But when that happened, I felt the pain that I had not really felt when we got divorced. And it was about a month of, yeah, just intense misery that only someone, I guess, who's been through that painful of a breakup would understand. Because it's
Yeah.
hard to articulate, but if you've been
Yeah.
there, you know what I mean.
Exactly.
So yeah, different experiences for different people. And then I really want to drive this home. When I left my abuser, I sunk into a serious depression. And really the only thing that really pulled me out of it was actually moving overseas and just removing myself from, yeah, a lot of different things. And part of the reason I do this work today, like I said earlier, is that it was about at the 3-month mark, and I was still really struggling with it, probably
Yeah.
almost every day. And yeah, people started to get really frustrated with me. They were saying it was troubling. They were saying, you've just got to, put it out of your mind. All of the things that people who are hurting don't want to hear.
Exactly.
And it was, and I felt like I lost the support. And then in my mind, I was thinking, but it's only been 3 months and this was traumatic. And, I really loved him and I tried really hard to make it work. And so I'm thinking, really? Is there something wrong with me? Because it seems like it was just yesterday, but everyone around me thinks that, I'm being really unreasonable.
Yeah. And I think that's especially hard when it's abusive because it was, unequivocally on paper, bad relationship.
Yep.
Why would you miss that person?
Mm-hmm.
They abused you.
Yeah.
And so that's really hard for people who are not trauma informed to understand what sort of like mental gymnastics your brain does when you're abused. Yeah, so I really feel for you.
Oh, thank you. But I'm it's definitely not a pity party. I'm just saying, like, I really get what it's like. I felt like I wasn't able to like express what was going on with me to those around me.
Mm-hmm.
And I also know that it takes longer than our families and friends expect it should. And that's when I read Guy Winch's book. It was one of the biggest aha moments to me because of having lived it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so true.
If you feel like it's taking you if it's taking you longer than those around you are saying it should, go easy on yourself, please.
Yeah. Everyone's different. And it's just hard to relate, even if they've experienced heartbreak of their own. It's just that empathy component, especially when thinking about negative experiences. Like we've got the negative affect or what is it? The fading affect bias, FAB. So like you don't remember negative experiences as clearly as you do positive experiences. So even if someone has had an experience where they can relate, they're going to have trouble recalling just how devastating that was and applying it to you. They're like, oh, I had a breakup and like it was hard, but it wasn't like this hard, And that's just like the fallibility of the human brain. So.
Totally. I think when you go through a breakup, when the relationship had kind of deteriorated, that your friends are going to remember the times that you called and told them that the person was mean to you or you had gotten into a fight or they did this. And they're not going to remember all of the beautiful things that you said about the relationship. In fact, you might have not. I mean, when do we call our friends and
they're like, oh my God,
brag about our partners?
So
I mean, maybe sometimes, but we're probably much more prone to call people when things are bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so of course that's going to stick in someone's mind.
Yeah. And they also, they're probably in mama bear status. They're like, defend my friend at all costs from danger. Bad person, go away. Like,
Yeah.
So,
but it just doesn't work that way when your heart is broken.
Yeah.
And that's why, again, counseling, coaching, that's what it's here for.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to take a short break for an advertisement and we'll be right back. Awesome. So welcome back. And now we're going to dive into what actually affects the time it takes to get over a relationship. Mm-hmm. And it's not just time. I argue it also involves intensity of the relationship. Mm-hmm. So you've probably heard the common advice that it'll take half the length of the relationship to get over the relationship.
I'm sorry, this is so dumb.
Yeah. And we hear it so often. Like I've heard it so often. It's like the first advice that people give is it'll take half the length of the relationship. And it's just like circulated as if this is like a scientific fact.
It makes no sense. It was stupid.
Yeah. In fact, it was first said on Sex and the City. And as we know, they make the best relationship decisions on that
they're
show.
Such wonderful people. Yeah. They treat their partners so well. We should definitely be taking
the model of healthy relating.
No, in fact, I always make notes during our episode about future things to talk about. And hello, Sex and the City. We could do so many episodes on that show.
So many episodes.
And why it's horrible. No, look, I like to watch it.
Yeah.
But we should not be applying that show to our lives.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think most people would agree. They're like, yeah, Sex and the City is not where I get my relationship advice. However, people don't know that this quote is from Sex and the City.
So I knew it was that they talked about this on Sex and the City, but I didn't know that it was like originally from there. They just made it up. Are you sure?
Well, I found a citation saying that.
Oh, okay. No, I believe you. I'm just amazed because that is so ingrained into our thinking. So I figured like they got it from somewhere. Huh.
Yeah. I mean, they probably did, but I think that's where it was first like popularized.
Yeah.
Is on that show. So, however, it isn't just about the time. Like time definitely is a factor, but it's not the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, just to like pull out some research here on how long it takes. In one 2007 study, the majority of the participants in that study said that they felt better after just 3 months after a breakup. Meanwhile, folks who answered a 2017 survey said that it took closer to 6 months. And for getting over someone after a divorce, that timeline inched closer to 1.5 years per a 2009 study. So it's kind of all over the map.
Right.
Yeah. And I think it makes sense with getting over someone after a divorce that it would be longer because there's more involved in dissolving a marriage than there is in a dating relationship. Even if like emotionally you had the same level of commitment, like in a divorce, you have to like keep some form of communication with this person as like the legal issues are resolved and
it's
like
horrible.
All this shit.
And then you gain all these other memories of this person that are like linked to the divorce. And it's awful. Honestly, I have so much compassion for people who have to go through this because it's just grueling.
Yeah.
It goes on for months.
Yeah. And you can't just be like, all right, I'm going to like go no contact, not look at their social media. Oh shit, I have a meeting with them on Thursday.
Yeah.
Like,
we gotta talk about this more. Yeah, I mean, eventually, yes, you can go no contact, but you can't really make that decision right away.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas dating, at least, even if you're living together, you can kind of manage it where it's like, okay, I'm going to be out of the house when you move your shit out. And like, you can manage it more where you don't have to like keep seeing them after you've had like the final conversation. So yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to keep seeing them and you shouldn't keep seeing them. We're just going to keep on driving that home. All right. So as far as blanket advice for time, I have never felt comfortable giving blanket advice when it comes to time or when it comes to another question I get is when should I start dating again? So I always say I can't give general rules of thumb for this. I've seen, because it's different for everyone. I've seen people seriously start to get their groove back like right away after a year. Yes, it has happened after a month, everything in between. So what the studies that you just mentioned, I think are mostly great to show us is that it fluctuates like crazy and that you should honor your experience. And this is especially true if you're working on yourself and if you're starting to look towards the future. Just honor your experience.
Yeah, exactly. Don't look at it so much as time as maybe like milestones. Yeah. So I think I mentioned before that the time it takes to get over a relationship has a lot to do with the intensity of the relationship. And I think also like your commitment level. Jane Greer, a PhD in New York-based marriage and family therapist and author of What About Me, says that if you attach deeply and intensely, you are not equipped to deal with separation and loss. So if you attach deeply and intensely, like she said, say, like a few weeks in, you're wearing his shirt to bed. You're like, this is my person. We're going to get married in Mexico in 2 years. Like you have it all like worked out. That is going to be harder to get over than someone who is like, I'm just feeling things out. We're having a good time. We'll see where it goes.
Amazing point.
Yeah. So, if you have that heightened sense of attachment and sensitivity, it can leave you feeling devastated, lower your self-esteem, and leave you longing for your ex for quite a while. Yeah. And I think this can be applied to situationships as well. So, like the man who's not your man,
Oh my
the
gosh.
friends that you together decided that you were not going to risk the friendship, and yet you spend all your time together and you're totally in love with him. Yeah, I think that level of intensity and commitment, even when there's no like sexual benefits or whatever, I think those can still be really a struggle to get over, because your attachment to them was intense. So yeah. And I think the stories you tell yourself during the relationship is what adds to that intensity, and therefore it's going to be what makes it harder to get over them.
Right. And I don't think we're saying that you shouldn't be attached to someone that you're in love with or someone that you're in partnership with, but take it slow, keep things real.
Yeah.
And also know that if you were in an intense relationship, that your healing's gonna take some time.
Just understand that, like, hey, I really felt deeply for this person. Look how I'm capable of feeling this way.
Yeah,
and
someone
it's gonna take a little longer.
Yes. I was told that after I left my abuser, and I just said, I can't believe that this happened. I was codependent, and so I'd supported him, and someone said, I just want you to look at your capacity to love. And that it's so beautiful that you're able to give that.
Exactly.
So let's talk about identity and relationships. Another very hot topic that I have a lot to say about. I won't get into all of it here, but you want to ask yourself how much of your identity is tied up in this relationship. And again, if you're really attached to this part of your identity, it could be a little bit harder to get over. And as another resource for this episode, if you're keeping track, we have Gary Lewandowski, a psychology professor from Monmouth University, who delivered another TED Talk that we want to recommend. Breakups don't have to leave you broken.
Boom.
Yeah. So if you've lost a piece of your identity, you're also struggling with that, and you need to give it time. So, and I know that you were curious about how my marriage relates to this, because I've talked a lot about how my marriage was a huge part of my identity, like probably half of it looking back. And it was. We used to joke and say that we were the hippie power couple. And I think it was a part of his identity as well. And as I've said, already probably a couple times on this show, but I left a high demand religion really shortly after we got together. And so that too is a part of my identity, like, look what I can do, even though I'm not Mormon anymore. But in my case, this is partially what caused the relationship to get unhealthy, and why I stayed in a relationship where I was so unhappy for so long before I left, is because I didn't want to give this part of myself up. But by the time I got to the point where I left, I'd kind of come to terms with that. And I kind of felt like this part of my story is similar to guest Christina's story in episode 14, about how, like, when it finally ended, I was ready. And perfect examples both of how it's different for everyone.
Yeah, it's different for everyone. I think the main takeaway from this episode for you should be that
for you, dear listener.
Yeah, dear listener.
Okay.
Remove the self-judgment, remove the shame, remove the blame, and just be like, this is the experience that I'm having, and I'm here to ride the wave. This is part of experiencing life fully as a human. Like, you could get really spiritual about it and be like, this is me having the full range of the human experience.
I believe that very strongly as well. I mean, if you were capable of loving someone, then you're going to be capable of hurting because it ended, because we're human. And that's what we do.
Yeah, that's what we do.
And if you want more support, please hit us up. This is kind of our jam.
Yeah, this is our jam. We are living in our DMs. So come by, say hello. We love hearing your stories and love hearing that the podcast is helping. And yeah, have requests as well, because this episode is based on one of the most common questions that we've gotten. So come and ask your questions so that we can do like a deep 1 hour dive on them.
Yeah, seriously, we love it so much. That's what that's what this was based on. So we can't wait to hear from you. And speaking of jams, introduce our new fun segment.
Yes. So we are introducing a new segment. We are still working on a creative name for it, but basically we're reviewing songs from the perspective of relationship coaches and breakup coaches. So are they healthy? Are they not healthy? Is this a good way to get over a breakup?
Yep. What messages is this sending to
young people or old people?
You read my mind. I was just about to say that, and I held back.
The youths.
You can read me by this point.
Schmidt would say, a new girl, the youths. So speaking of the youths, our first song is Driver's License by Olivia Rodrigo.
Hot right now.
So yeah, it is really sweeping the TikTok community and extending outside of that. So, and we thought we'd have like our take on some of the lyrics because it is about a breakup. And so, yeah, so let's dive right in. So
great. And it's a very pretty song. So yeah, I guess we can first give an overview. It's a song about a female identified individual who it suggests that she's been left, right? Is that what you think?
Okay. It seems like she's been left, and she has this history of her ex teaching her how to drive, and she now has her driver's license, and she can drive by herself now. And that's like, I like that metaphor because it was like before she was driving with him.
Yeah.
I mean, we know it's a him just from like context and TikTok telling me, but
I mean, doesn't it say?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go through their lyrics, so we'll figure that out.
Only a few of the lyrics, but not everything.
I think it's a universal issue with breakups too, because when you do something in your life that you thought for so long that you were going to do together, that does not feel good. I'm trying to think of an example from my life. I'd have to think of it, but I totally know the feeling. I broke up with someone, and then very shortly after, for instance, went on a trip that we were going to do together. It was just a weekend thing, but it's it's disappointing.
Yeah, it's disappointing. Like, I think we can get this with music a lot because it's like this was our song. I know, like, my ex-fiance and we like talked about moving to Denver before, and
so like I love that you're doing it with no man.
Yeah, and honestly, if you're listening, I don't think he's listening, but I don't think he would have liked it here. So it's probably a good thing for him. Yeah. So anyway, so the lyrics, getting there. So we start out, and you're probably with that blonde girl who always made me doubt. She's so much older than me. She's everything I'm insecure about. And so this relates back to what we talked about earlier with the stories you tell yourself and them making the breakup so much harder. And I just want to point out, you can't tell what someone is going through just from their actions.
Yeah.
Someone has seemingly moved on doesn't mean that they're not hurting. It doesn't mean that they're just like terrible about processing their emotions and they're going to deal with this in a year and have a very dark time, Yeah.
So no one wants to kind of see that someone they've just broken up with is just having the time of their life. And it's because you can just read so much into it. And this was one of my comments, which I'll come back to later on, is I'm thinking, why does she know so much about who he's now with? Because I don't know, in my mind, you probably shouldn't be having this information about.
Knowing so much information. And that said, I do believe intuition is super strong. And if she thought, hey, this blonde girl is definitely interested in him, and then the relationship ended, like, she's probably right. But whether or not he's hooking up with someone else or this girl that you were worried about before doesn't have anything to do with you. It just means she was available. All it means is that she was available. It doesn't mean anything about the relationship that you guys had or anything like that. So,
or anything about your worth.
Yeah, don't take it personally.
It really has nothing to do with you. I know that's so hard for people to get.
It's so hard. But yeah, sometimes it helps to just hear it.
From women who know. All right, so the next lyrics. I know we weren't perfect, but I've never felt this way for no one. I just can't imagine how you could be so okay now that I'm gone. Guess you didn't mean what you wrote in that song about me, 'cause you said forever. Now I drive alone past your street. Aww.
It's such a sweet song, but reactions to how he seems to be okay, episode coming soon. We're going to talk about this. I just want to point out how she's invalidating the whole relationship and everything that was said in it just because it ended, I like to believe in the complexity of humans and the fact that he could have really meant forever in that moment, but things changed. People changed, and it did.
Yeah, and also, I know this is an 18 and over show, but this song is about high school?
I mean, she's just getting her driver's license, so she's quite young.
All right, yeah, I really want anyone to know who's either in high school or, even kind of in their 20s. You have multiple relationships. And you might say forever because that's what we say about relationships, but doesn't make it any less significant of a life experience.
Yeah, my high school relationships were devastating when they ended, and yet now I literally have no feelings about them. So
I wish so badly I could go back and just tell myself, like, none of this matters. Just
none of this matters.
All right.
Yeah. So, looking at a relationship as complete and not failed, like, you didn't fail because it ended. It ran its run, and that was it.
And if you're having relationships when you're younger, you're getting experience. I think that's actually really good. Coming from a culture where, no one's really meant to have relationships before you kind of get married. I think it's so good for people to have breakups when they're younger. Yeah. Okay. Or all through your life, go. Yeah. Okay, I'm not going to get into this. Okay. So the notes that I wrote were, of course, like, immediately I'm thinking, why is she driving past his street? Is she checking up on him? Does she just happen to be going past there? I guess it's a little ambiguous, so I can't necessarily say, but I did want to say, you really shouldn't be
driving past someone's
purposely
house.
Going to drive past someone's house.
Yeah. And that said, my commute from work at the time took me literally right past the dumpster fire's house.
Ouch.
And it was like, I'd have to add like 10 minutes onto my trip to go the other way. And sometimes I did. And there was a super great moment where I saw him walking along the street with another girl. And I'm just like, well, this is a really shitty way to go home from work.
I was going to ask you if that was the situation.
Yeah.
Oh, yuck.
Yeah, so that was super great.
Breakup coach talking here, I would add the 10 minutes.
Yeah, I did after seeing that, because he didn't usually he wasn't out of his house usually, when I was going home from work, and so that was a very freak occurrence. Who would have thunk that would have happened? But yeah, that was That was not a great day, but
sorry. All right. So we don't know why she's going past a street, but if it's on purpose, I think this is not a good message.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, I do like how she says that she realizes it wasn't perfect, but she's still hurting. I mean, we often talk about how we tend to idealize our exes during this point. So I don't know, I guess it seems like she's not really doing that. So
Yeah, she's not idealizing him, and I think that's really good. And I think, the lyric, I just can't imagine how you could be so okay now that I'm gone. How she tells this, because I've definitely had this thought before, is that, he's not reaching out to her, and I've felt that with my exes too, like where in the past I've had weak moments and I have reached out to them and it was always me. And now I'm like, bullshit. Like, he can't be struggling that much if he hasn't ever broken and texted me,
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going to go on a limb and say that's might be kind of a guy thing, but
yeah, I think they fall into their anger.
Yeah.
During breakups a lot more, and that's quite motivating.
I think some men aren't as expressive, especially during times like this.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to go on with the lyrics, my dear?
Yes. So, in our last little lyric section, and all my friends are tired of hearing how much I miss you, but I kind of feel sorry for them because they'll never know you the way that I do.
Hello, episode topic.
Yeah.
Today's episode.
Reactions of like believing that someone best. Like, you see how special and unique and beautiful they are. You see their heart, and your friends just can't see that. And that's why they just don't understand. And the thing is that I think, like, unless you're a sociopath, like, most of us do have a really beautiful heart inside. And when you do get to know someone on an intimate level, like, you're going to feel protective of them and feel like, people who haven't gotten to know them on that intimate level just aren't going to understand how special they are. But I really take the perspective of we're all special. We're all fucking special. So, so yeah. So, I just like that lyric of how that really exemplifies how someone could process the fact that their friends aren't understanding why it's taking so long, and just being like, well, you don't know him like I do.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between friends pointing out flaws in a relationship or flaws in a person and someone being kind of frustrated that you haven't gotten over it so soon. Yeah, I think when people are able to point out, a number of reasons why maybe they didn't think the relationship was best, that sometimes it is good to take some of that to heart. It's a little bit different than someone just saying, I don't want to hear about this anymore.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And if someone does say, I don't want to hear about this anymore, like, you should be over it by now, that's their wounded child, like, speaking up. They're just showing that they're not very, like, evolved, and just be like, all right, like, I just know that I can't come to you anymore for this, and just know it's just part of their journey. And maybe one day they'll learn that there is complexity and depth in things. But it's just showing that they're kind of operating at a different wavelength.
Yep, we've talked about this before, and this is a good time that you learn about your friendships. And, some friends are great for some things and not so great for others. And so you would store this in this friend is not so great for processing a breakup with. And it is sad and frustrating. And, as someone who's experienced this, I actually think it's really unfortunate that people can't, like, step outside of themselves and figure out, how can I support this person more, rather than just saying, like, your time's up. But it's just not the case. I don't understand people, and it happens, unfortunately.
It does. So so that was our first little
I liked that
segment. If you have ideas for a creative, fun name for this, please let us know, because we're working on it. It's been a couple weeks now, and we're not really thinking of anything.
Yeah, 2 copywriters who also do breakup stuff, and nothing's come to us yet. So
been better. Yeah,
what?
jams. I mean, there's just no
something's gonna come about, but I would be super thrilled if people had ideas for a name. We'd love to know what you think about the episode. Why is it taking me so long to get over them? Yeah, let us know. And if you have questions about your breakup or future things we could talk about, hit us up.
Yep, we're not too cool to be in our DMs. So come slide on in and we'll have like a fun little chat. That sounded so weird. But thank you guys. We're petering out here at the end. And so we will bid you adieu and see you next time. Bye. Thanks for listening to X-Files, a podcast about breakups, broken hearts, and moving on.
If you like this episode, tag us on your Instagram story so we can connect with you.
And you can find me, Claire, on Instagram at Claire Lofthouse.
And me, Janice, on Instagram at Janice Formicella. If you'd like to join our online community, find us on Facebook at Breakups, Broken Hearts, and Moving On. Talk soon.
Bye.